Idea to aisle. Our moderator today is Robin Young. Robin is the Director of Value Added Branch at Manitoba Agriculture and leads a team of business development specialists and product commercialization consultants who support food business across the province and at the Food Development Centre in Portage-la Prairie. Their goal is to accelerate the growth of the value-added food and beverage industry in Manitoba, offering business development and product commercialization expertise, access to business and marketing consultation, strategic pathfinding, and cutting-edge industry training, not to mention funding opportunities. Thank you, Robin.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here. It's my pleasure to welcome you and to welcome our panelists to the stage for our Idea to Aisle conversation and discussion. We're going to get to hear the behind-the-scenes stories of how brands get going and how people bring dreams to life. We decided a panel would be the best way to demonstrate some of the varied journeys that occur within the food industry. Not two are alike. And so for me to tell you how they do it in a linear fashion doesn't really make sense. We thought we'd hear from the people living it. Can you hear me okay out there? Turn it up a little bit. Tilt it up. Accept it. It's gonna fall. Is that better? How's that? My voice is a little high. So I don't know if you know this, but in Manitoba we have about 380 food processors, so a fairly small group of companies, and my team in the value-added branch works with them at the business level. 95% of those 380 are 0 to 99 employees, meaning the proprietor is the only employee. They may have a few part-timers that help them out from time to time, but we're working with very small businesses who have a lot on their plates and are wearing multiple hats and balancing a lot of priorities. Sometimes they're running their own farm operations and they've decided to do some value addition as well, as you'll hear from one of our panelists today. Two of our panelists today, I should say. We've got a diverse group of companies within Manitoba. Often they get their start at the farmer's market. So it's a great place to test your idea, test your product, get that voice of customer. It's easy to rely on friends and family to give you feedback about your product. It's great to get out to the general public, and when you ask them for their money and they'll exchange it for your product, you know you have something that someone actually wants to take home and wants to invest in. After the farmers market, we work with companies getting them ready to look at other opportunities, whether it be independent retailers or chain retailers. We facilitate trade show opportunities, and we can help you grow and diversify your business. Our goal, as Laurie said, is to accelerate the growth of the food commercialization business in Manitoba. So when you're getting advice from our branch, you're able to access business development support as well as food product development support at the Food Development Centre. Our business development team is spread out across the province. So we've got two staff here, one from Carberry and one from Roblin today. Thank you for being here. And they're very passionate about helping companies succeed and grow. We have a Business Pathways website that we operate, and at the end of the presentation I'm going to run you through a couple of resources and some QR codes to get links and access to the resources that are available if you're thinking about adding value in your business. Our Food Development Centre in Portage-la Prairie has been in operation for 48 years this year, and we do R&D for domestic and international clients. We do a lot of protein extraction, product development, prototype development, food safety and regulatory consultation, shelf life studies, which are really important if you're starting to think about growing and exporting your product. You want to make sure that it's safe and going to be high quality when it gets to a faraway market. And the projects at the Food Development Centre are tailored to your needs. So we don't drive any of the research there, it's all client driven. We are basically a research and development team for hire. So Manitoba is a relatively small consumer market. So if you're thinking about growing a value-added business and a food business, you want to think about saturating this local market as much as you can before you invest in exporting. It's expensive to start shipping product across the country. So we work with clients to think about how their product works in retail, how it works for customers, but how it might also work in food service. And we have an awesome opportunity in Manitoba at Red River College Polytech. We work with Prairie Research Kitchen, who uses a culinary lens on food product development. So they can help you take an ingredient and figure out what it might mean to a food service operation. Also, because of the small consumer market in Manitoba, often we're looking at having our clients leave Manitoba earlier in their business journey than some of their competitors from other provinces. So you need to get to a bigger consumer market to be able to expand and scale. So we help with that. We can help you do market research to understand where your product fits. We can help you exhibit at trade shows. And on the product side, that means balancing capacity and enhancing your production capacity, as well as that shelf life extension or shelf life study piece that I mentioned before, where we're basically monitoring the product through the course of its shelf life to evaluate it for safety, but also appearance and texture, and flavor, to notify if there's any changes that are required in your formulation before you send it far away. One thing about our department and our branch, we don't work in isolation, so we're in the value-added team within Ag, but we have connections, and we see some of our partners here from Agriculture Canada. We work with Food and Beverage Manitoba, so lots of connections throughout the network of service providers in Manitoba, Farm Credit Canada as well. Last June, we held a pitch event in Manitoba with Food and Beverage, and that was with Sobeys, Save-On Foods, and Red River Co-op, and had really good uptake there. So we try to facilitate opportunities to get engaged and build relationships with your customers in Manitoba, so they come here as opposed to everyone having to travel and have that expense. So we work closely with our industry association to provide those opportunities. We also host a lot of webinar series, so if you're interested in learning about pricing and how to set your margin, how to label your package, all kinds of tools are available on the Manitoba Ag YouTube channel. And all of the food business webinars are colored blue, so you won't get lost in the sea of green. There's a ton of resources available from the department on crops and production and livestock. So we've turned ours into blue food business pathways. And this past spring and fall, we, as I mentioned, we help companies exhibit at trade shows. We did participate in CL Canada, which takes place in Toronto. We took a delegation of companies to Germany in October. We're doing Vancouver for the Canadian Health Food Association, which is a really good fit for a lot of Manitoba companies. And we're doing CL Canada in Montreal this year, and then ANTAD in Mexico. One thing I'll say is that if you can sell in Manitoba, and if you can sell in Winnipeg, we hear all the time from our clients that the minute they get to a larger consumer market with more competition, people don't bat an eye at their pricing, and they find it sometimes easier to sell their product. So if you can make it here, you're selling in a tough market. So keep that in your back pocket, that if you're making a go of it in Manitoba, you're doing really great. Okay, with that, I'm going to introduce our panelists today. So I'd like to welcome Hailey Jefferies from Prairie Fava. Hailey Jefferies is the founder of Prairie Fava, a vertically coordinated agri-food company pioneering the fava bean value chain in North America. Based in Glenboro, Manitoba, Prairie Fava contracts with farmers across the Canadian prairies and processes those beans into high-quality ingredients, including whole beans, splits, and flour for food makers and processors across North America and into Asia. Prairie Fava is a key contributor to the sustainable protein movement, and under Hailey's leadership, the company has secured major funding partnerships with organizations such as Protein Industries Canada and Prairie's Can to advance fava as a high-functionality protein crop. A dedicated champion of Canadian fava, Hailey is committed to making fava famous, driving its adoption with food makers and strengthening the entire value chain from seed to shelf to support better health and sustainability outcomes from grower all the way to consumer. And welcome to Chris Warwaruk from Farmery Estate Brewery. Thank you. Chris is co-founder and co-owner of Farmery Estate Brewery Inc. in Nipawin. Farmery Estate Brewery is a true estate brewery that grows their own barley and hops to craft sustainable, prairie-inspired alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. Founded by brothers Chris and Lawrence, hi Lawrence in the audience, The brewery is rooted in deep agricultural heritage and a commitment to adding value to locally grown ingredients. Farmery operates with one of the lowest carbon footprints in the industry and further reduces emissions through advanced CO2 recapture technology at their facility. Farmery's diverse lineup includes not only craft beers, but hard teas and innovative non-alcoholic options, such as malted sodas and virgin beer Caesars. They have strong retail presence across Canada, and they continue to expand their brand and product offerings to meet growing consumer demand. And welcome to Joseph Chaeban from Chaeban Artisan and Chaeban Ice Cream. Back in 2016, Joseph wanted to thank the community that helped sponsor his wife's family through the refugee process and also contribute to employment opportunities in the area. Joseph connected with his business partner, Daryl Stewart, and Chaeban Ice Cream was born. Joseph and Zainab bring together flavors and ingredients from their homelands in Syria and Lebanon with decades of experience in the dairy industry. They opened their ice cream shop on the first day of winter in 2017. We can relate to what that might have felt like. It's a wintry day today. And I think that truly speaks to the quality of what they're bringing to the table, that people will come out on a day like today and try new ice cream. Their business has 5 core values: care for people always, be environmentally friendly, give back whenever possible, make everything from scratch, and support local producers. They regularly feature a local champion on a particular flavor of the month, donating proceeds to an organization of that local champion's choice. Joseph himself is a second-generation dairy scientist and brings a wealth of knowledge in the dairy industry into everything he produces, from ice cream to cheeses, and now butter at Notre Dame Creamery. Chaeban creates award-winning products rooted in tradition. In 2022, at the Royal Egg Fair in Toronto, Chaeban's Salty Carl won Grand Champion in ice cream, and Rocky Ricardo got top prize for chocolate ice cream. Their soft creamery feta was top 10 selection in Montreal at the Cial Innovation in 2024, and Cial Innovation is a global showcase of trends and innovation in the food and beverage industry. So welcome to the panelists. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, we're going to start with the journey behind each of the companies that you see here today. Those early decisions, the surprises, and the turning points that have shaped where you all are today. So Chris, I'm going to start with you. Farmery has grown from a local craft beer concept to a diverse beverage brand. What were the biggest steps and surprises on your journey from idea to market?
Thanks, Robin. Why do I have to go first? What's the challenges? You gotta repeat the question.
What were the biggest steps and surprises on your journey from idea to market?
Okay, well...
In like 3 to 4 minutes.
Well, probably some of the challenges was, adding value to the crops that we grow and bringing it into the brewery, but actually taking the product to the marketplace and applying the marketing opportunities to that, through advertising, marketing, social media. And once it gets into the market, then you're surprised that you still have to continue with the marketing to pull it off the shelf. And I think that some of the challenges that we've overcome is connecting with the consumer from the very base label position, but also connecting with the store managers, and that relationship with the store managers is critical to helping make that step to taking it into a better position on the shelf and taking that to the consumer. So yeah, I mean, it's challenges along the way.
Thank you for that, and that's such a good point. We talk about that all the time, about where do you want to be in the grocery store or in the liquor store. If you have a product, it's important to walk the store and figure out where you think your ideal top 3 spots are, because you might not get the first spot from the retailer. They're not going to offer you prime location if you're relatively new. But we did have a client who was disappointed about having a bottom shelf situation, and then it turned out to be the perfect situation because the product was marketed for children. And so who was shopping at the lower aisle levels? Kids. And so it turned out not to be a bad spot. So a little bit of science behind where your product goes in the store. Joseph, you started Chaeban with a community vision. What was the turning point that helped you scale beyond ice cream into private label and national recognition?
So when we give back to our community, opening in 2017, we were off to a great start, and then we won all these awards. And our community really supported us. So Federated Co-op reached out to us wanting to carry our ice cream. Yeah, so Federated Co-op reached out to us wanting to carry our ice cream. At that time, we weren't ready to meet that price demand that they were asking for. So when COVID hit us, we needed to pivot and create a new product. So as I am a second generation cheesemaker, decided to make cheese. And so it was strategic that what products we wanted to launch next. So I decided with a firm feta, soft creamy feta, mascarpone, and ricotta. This allowed us to compete in the market. And I knew that we needed to have an anchor like Federated Co-op to keep our business going. So the very first thing I did is reach back to Federated Co-op and ask them, hey, I got a new product, you guys want to try it? So they're like, yeah, send it to us. Now I had an idea of what price point they wanted to be at, because it's our industry and I know what the prices are on the market. And they agreed, so this helped us get into 250 stores right away. And that was with private label. Now with private label, what is really cool about it is you don't have to worry about the marketing dollars to really take your brand and showcase it and do all these taste demos. So you got to put that into effect on the pricing that you put in. So getting into private label keeps the lights on, which is awesome. And one of the next questions I'll answer later on will tell you how we make margin.
Stay tuned. Thanks, Joseph. Hailey, with Prairie Fava, you work primarily with food makers and processors rather than direct to consumer. Who are your core customers today? Can you share some of them with us? And what have you learned about helping companies adopt a newer ingredient like Fava?
Yes, so we work with doing the same. We work with food processors and food makers across North America.
We work with food makers and food processors across North America. We sell Fava bean ingredients, so from whole bean, split bean to Fava flour. Our ingredients are high protein and high fiber. So we're really excited when we work with food makers, and we have some really key success stories actually right here in Canada. And it's very timely for everything that's going on in our global economic environment, where we literally buy our beans from farmers in the Canadian prairies, we process it at our plant into an ingredient, and then we sell it to food makers or brands that you see on retail shelf that are manufacturing right here in Canada and then putting them on retail shelves. Some of those success stories have been 3 farmers out of Saskatchewan with their new snack products. Fava is a key staple in their bean snack products, or Big Mountain Foods out of BC. These are huge success stories for us, and it's really exciting to see, especially with everything going on in the global environment, that in Canada, we are truly using and adding value right from the bean, processing it as an ingredient, and then seeing these food makers take it, put it into products, and have global reach to consumers right from Canada.
And reassuring to know that we've got food security happening within Canada with infrastructure for growing, but also production and processing. We're going to move on to talking about how each of you have tapped into resources within the province to support you in different ways. I'd like to explore how those relationships have helped you move from early traction to real growth. So we'll start with Joseph this time. Navigating the dairy value chain can be quite complex. You have to be connected to dairy farmers in Manitoba to get quota and, I believe, apply for increase in supply of milk. How did the ecosystem in Manitoba help you build those relationships to grow your business and to set you up for further growth, continued growth?
Okay, so we're very lucky that dairy farmers of Manitoba really support agriculture, and they support their farmers and processors and manufacturers. They helped us along the way. It was much easier to do it in Manitoba than if we were going to go to Ontario or another province, because there's quota. And in Manitoba, they just want producers to grow here and also help the manufacturers at the same time. One way that helped us grow our company was we acquired Notre Dame Creamery. It used to be owned by Bothwell Cheese, which Bothwell Cheese used to own Notre Dame Creamery and Notre Dame Dillard. And as you know, they make butter and get a lot of cream. And we wanted to grow our company, and because we know cream is very hard to get, I was always on the look for how to get more cream to make some of our products like cream cheese, because that's a growing market for us.
Good afternoon, everyone. We would like to remind you that if you are parked in a fire lane, it is illegal and you will have to tow your vehicle.
When Hailey, Ontario company, bought Bothwell Cheese and Notre Dame Creamery, I had a feeling that Hailey will want to sell Notre Dame because it's a competing customer or competing company that they bought, because they both make butter. So I approached Hailey, showing them a long vision that I had, where we would take the cream that we're getting from Bothwell Cheese, and we will still support the local Manitoba market with premium butter, but we would take that same cream product and make a higher margin product like cream cheese, where we can add value to the dairy industry. And strategically, we took Notre Dame Creamery in order for us to grow in the market and also compete on the national scale.
Thanks, Joseph. Hailey, Prairie Fava, I mentioned before, has secured some major funding partnerships. How important have those collaborations been in advancing your business? Do you want to come on up?
So we have worked very closely with Protein Industries Canada and Prairie's Can, both federal programs. We've also worked with provincial programs. They have been instrumental in supporting Prairie Fava. The resources that we have in this country, compared to other entrepreneurs that I talk to internationally, are amazing, and they don't exist like this in other countries, specifically the United States, from other experience talking to other entrepreneurs. So we're very fortunate. The one thing though, as an entrepreneur and as starting an agri-food company, whether it's in the processing business or whether it's in the retail space, one thing to know about these funding partners is that you have to have matching funding. It's not as easy as you write the application, you justify their business case, and then they cut you a check and everything's great. We all wish it was that way, but it doesn't work exactly like that. So my biggest piece of advice when working with these funding partners is they're extremely supportive, but you do have to have matching dollars, and you also have to have dollars to be able to invest and pay upfront for those costs before you get reimbursed. And you're not necessarily getting reimbursed the next day. So that's something that you have to be strategic about, but they're great resources to tap into, but make sure you plan your finances accordingly and how you're going to manage that. But being able to tap into those partners is also a great leveraging tool if you are looking for investment for those matching dollars.
That's great advice. It's one way to leverage the dollars that you have going into your business, but you're right, for cash flow, reimbursements from the government don't often happen that quickly. We're guilty of that for sure. Chris, you've worked with the Food Development Center, with my team at FTC, and with our branch, as well as University of Manitoba and others in the kind of research innovation ecosystem. How did those partnerships influence your own ability to scale and innovate?
Yeah, great question. Of course, I mean, the background of Manitoba Ag is supported by FTC and University of Manitoba, so we're lucky to have that in our backyard. Lawrence and I and the team, we obviously grow the crops on our farm, and we have the manufacturing plant. We call it a bottling beverage plant now. It's just not craft beer like how we started. And that's just how it evolved over the years in our marketplace. specifically to FDC and University of Manitoba, we're really excited about innovative products. And one of the cool things they're working on, and the panel can also agree that protein and the consumer base, that their demand of plant-based proteins is on the rise. And we're excited to kind of experiment with some processes at the brewery to add value to our spent grains. So when you talk about spent grains, that's typically what we would either sell at a very cheap price or give it away to a guy in the neighborhood that has cattle, or we put it out in the field for fertilizer. But upcycled is a key component that we're trying to add value to our crops. So we grow the barley, we malt the barley locally at Malt Europe in Winnipeg. We bring it back to the plant, to the brewery, we make beer out of it, and then we have spent grains. And we're developing a process where we can extract as much proteins from that spent grains to make additional beverages. The unique thing about this is that it's soluble protein. It's not gonna fall out of suspension like a whey protein and stuff. So using the team at FDC to help us, we're sending batch after batch to test the soluble protein concentrations, because obviously we want to get the highest concentration possible to give the consumer at the store level the best value possible too. So that's exciting to that we have these expertise in our backyard, and we're really excited about what's the next step to actually take this idea and using the expertise in our backyard to actually have a full product line in the stores hopefully soon.
We're seeing more interest from the value-added sector looking at businesses that have a co-stream or a waste stream and figuring out what to do with that. There's a cost center there, so if you're sending it for fertilizer, there's an opportunity maybe to capture that value. And we've done some work in Manitoba. We have Brewery farms, processes in Winnipeg. They actually reclaim their eggshells from their egg breaking and pasteurization line and reclaim the calcium out of that and sell that now. So what was costing them, I think, around $2 million annually to landfill that product, they're now actually having a cost center that they're able to sell it and capitalize on that calcium that was lost in the eggshell. So kind of cool stuff happening all over. Okay, we're gonna get shifting into trends and challenges that are coming up. The food and beverage industry, as we know, is constantly shifting from consumer trends and consumer preferences, and obviously inflation and cost pressures are affecting everybody in this room and beyond. So I want to talk to each of you about how you stay ahead of those challenges and those changes. We'll start with Hailey. Where do you see the biggest opportunity for Prairie Fava to accelerate the adoption of Fava? So you spoke about some of your customers and success stories you've had. Is there still untapped potential, and do you have a wish list of customers and groups that you'd like to influence to adopt Fava?
So Fava is naturally really rich in protein and fiber, and right now protein and fiber are having huge moments, especially protein, but fiber is definitely going to be having a moment soon. Everything that you see in grocery store to food service, even if you go to Starbucks, you are seeing high in protein packed. Protein powders, everything is about protein, and fiber is now kind of on that next wave. So Fava is well positioned to be an ingredient, and its functionality is very unique when it's at its flour level, that it's actually a very clean flavor profile. So when food makers look to add an ingredient to increase their protein or fiber, to capitalize on these consumer trends that don't seem to be slowing down, Fava is well positioned to take part in that. The unique thing too is that we're seeing Fava go into everything from cookies to snack products to bakery to traditional uses to meat products. It goes across the board. It's very diverse. It's not one specific category, because right now protein and fiber aren't dedicated on one specific category. You're seeing it all the way from drinks right through to even gummies. So it's an exciting time, and Fava is well positioned for growth.
Joseph, for you, scaling up means balancing consumer expectations with cost realities. What have you learned about pricing and growth in the competitive space of consumer packaged goods?
So we make a high premium ice cream like salty caramel, Rocky Ricardo, and in the grocery stores it's priced at $9.99. Now I noticed when we dropped the price to $8.99, we have a hard time keeping up with demand. And when we launched our cheese products, I had a feeling, well, I didn't have a feeling, I knew that we needed to be competitive in order to scale it up. So there was two paths. It was either staying on the artisanal side or going on the national side. Now, staying on the artisanal side is really cool. I really love that. But when you have a partner or investor, they want to see the company scaling up. So the only way we can scale up is if we are on the national stage. So when we launched our dairy products like our firm feta, our soft creamy feta, our cream cheese, I knew that we have a premium product, but we can't go much higher than what is the market demanding. So we strategized saying, okay, we're either going to be 10 cents higher or 10 cents lower. We couldn't say, oh, we can be $1 higher or $1 lower, because we know that our consumers, it's a very hard time and they want to support local, but they want to also help their everyday, because income in Manitoba might be not as much as other provinces, and it's a very struggling time when we notice that. So us strategically pricing our products at a certain price helped us eat market share from the bigger guys, because Manitoba does want to help local businesses, and it's just not Manitoba alone, it's Western made. So all the way from BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, we have a competitive advantage of being Western made, and that's what's helping our company scale up right now.
I don't know about everybody here, but Co-op Gold years ago would not have been your preferential private label, potentially. They've brought in a new, relatively new to Co-op, Sav, came from another company, and he's really kind of blown up the quality of Co-op Gold label. And if you get their flyers, you'll notice that they do profile the producers and the processors that are behind each of those products. So they've done a fantastic job of changing that from being probably not your first choice of product to now realizing it's going to be maybe even more premium, and like you said, made in Western Canada. So something you can do to support your local economy by still buying something that's affordable in your budget. So thanks, Joseph, for sharing that story. For Chris, when the pandemic started, there was a lot of speculation that it would be a free-for-all for alcohol. People were going to be at home and just partying, having all kinds of drinks. And people realized very quickly that wasn't sustainable, and we saw a real shift. We're also seeing a shift with, I think, younger generations not pursuing alcoholic beverages. You were ahead of that trend. Non-alcoholic has blown up. There's stores in Winnipeg that we all wish we'd started, Sober Market. Who would have thought you'd have a liquor-free liquor mart? Anyway, here we are. How do you stay ahead of those trends, and how did you know what was coming? Tell us so we can all know.
Well, we have a crystal ball, that's how. You know, I think, pantry buying. Everyone remembers COVID, the lockdowns, everyone was pantry buying. And that was followed by steep discounts for the big producers to keep the buying, going. Yeah, I'm gonna switch. Yeah, I mean, like when COVID hit and the lockdowns, I mean, there was pantry buying and alcohol sales went through the roof for everybody. What followed though was a steep decline in the opposite direction, and consumers actually, going away from alcohol, choosing non-alcoholic options. The lucky position that Lawrence and I put ourselves in before COVID is that we were already producing craft style malt-based sodas, so root beer. So we started making established connections with the grocery stores and the regional buyers, and that started off with the local, co-op stores and Safeway Sobeys, which later translated to national listings. It spurred us to rethink about what our future was with alcohol, And we even diversified into economy brands because people, there's a target market outside the craft beer segment. So we tried economy brands, we tried the Caesars, we tried high alcohol brands, we tried iced teas with partnering with Bee Made Honey. So no one could fault Lawrence and I for not diversifying and learning from our dad, trying to diversify different crops where, we should be growing peas, we grew peas, So, but all those trials and efforts are, I would say, they're paying off now because now the whole trend, like Robin was saying, is that there's specific stores now that you never found in your neighborhood called like Sober Market, and there's a slew of them in BC and Quebec and Ontario that reach out to us to say, can we get our product into their stores? But it really starts with the vision in mind to say, whatever's working, is it working to the best of its ability? If our plant isn't running 24/7, then there's still an opportunity to drive down our cost of production and to reach another market. And I think that, as we're still small producers. There's massive beverage companies that we're going up against. And if you thought that us as a craft beer going up against Budweiser is tough, try making a soda going up against Coke. It's not easy, right? So I think that we've done the best that we can to diversify and stay connected with the consumers, ensure that they understand what value that we bring to that brand is, and ultimately it's about connecting with even distributors to make sure that that our product is taken care of right from our plant right to the stores in Saskatchewan and Alberta. I just have one more thought, Robin, is that when you said that if you can make it in Manitoba, you can make it anywhere. That's true to an extent. The reality is that the Saskatchewan, even the Saskatchewan market in the alcohol channel or in the non-alc is I would say larger. For sure in Alberta it's larger. In Ontario and BC it's even larger yet. We face interprovincial trade barriers still, but I would say that us expanding to Saskatchewan and Alberta, where the consumer understands agriculture, they understand the Farmery brand, it's a lot easier for us to cross those provincial borders because there's a consumer on the other side that really understands the value of what we bring to the finished product. So I'm really proud about that.
Okay, next question I'm going to ask you. For anyone in the audience that may be thinking about doing something or hasn't started their value addition their journey, if you could go back and give yourself advice on day one, this is for all three of you. So day one of starting your business, what advice would you give yourself? I'll give you a minute to think about that because it's kind of a bonus question I've sprung on you. Who wants to take that first? Would the advice be don't go ahead? Hopefully not.
Yeah, I would say trust yourself, know your product, obviously know your market. The one thing I would change is trusting in myself more and believe that I can do to the capability that I know that I'm able to do. What does that mean? It's always smart to focus on one product to the extent that you can maximize that product across the board. But if you believe you can do one more product because it's in the same line as what you're doing and it will generate another revenue of money, go for it.
What would I do? What advice would I give at the start? I would ask the bank for more money. And because it's really hard to come back a second or a third time to top it up. And I think that when your concept is in the vision stage, is that you have passion that goes behind it and the vision of doing that. And sometimes, obviously, probably more times than not, it probably might fall short of that. But it doesn't change your passion for the business model or your products. You just might need a little bit more runway or time to actually implement the vision. It's really hard to go back to the bank after that, and because they're going to look back at your cash flow, your sales, your cost of goods, all that sort of stuff. So that's what the advice I would ask, and I would give to anyone. Go back and ask for as much as you can and extend the runway.
Like Chris, I think all entrepreneurs have a lot of passion, so that's something we've never lacked either at Prairie Fava or myself. But one piece of advice that we always remind ourselves, even now as a team, is that you have to be patient. I think that everyone starting out, we always see where everyone is at the end of the journey, close, where they're successful and oh my gosh, look at them now and look where they are. And you don't see the grind behind the scenes and the persistence that it takes. So everything takes a lot longer than anyone anticipates. And patience and persistence are definitely two key components. You need passion, but you need the patience and persistence. We actually have that written on our wall, the 3 Ps. So make sure you have that passion, but be patient and be persistent.
It's very easy to look at other companies and think, oh, they're doing everything and they're just new. But the reality is they've spent 20 years becoming new, the new thing. And we have so many clients that get started on one path, and at year 5, year 6, year 7, they realize their side gig within their major business might be what actually is taking off. So we've seen that with the likes of Spencer Brothers Meats. They started in 2003 when BSC hit. They started cutting their own meat and selling direct to consumer and opened up retail shops. And they thought, we'll make a few pizzas and see how that goes. Well, it turns out the market for frozen pizza in Manitoba is 100,000 pizzas a week. And that is what they focused on. And they wouldn't have told you that was their business plan in the beginning. So it takes time to figure out where your sweet spot is in the market too. Joseph, for many people who know your award-winning ice cream and cheeses, your private label products are relatively new to the market for us. Can you share with us, for those who want to try them, where they can currently find Chaeban cheese on the shelves? You talked about Co-op Gold. Are there other opportunities you want to speak to?
We want to thank, across the board, Save On Foods, Sobeys, Safeway, Superstore, and a lot of the specialty stores that got us started, like Fix Market and St. Leon, and the boutique shops in Manitoba. One thing that helped us keep the lights on for Chaeban ice cream and Notre Dame Creamery is co-packing. One strategic co-packer was Federated Co-op that helped us so much. Robin was just saying they want to promote Western made, where Sav had a vision and he wanted to show the people that are making the product and really show that's Western made. So having more private label with Co-op, our soft creamy feta, our firm feta is in Federated Co-op. Also Farm Boy in Ontario. We have our mascarpone and very soon our cream cheese. And also Co-op Gold will carry our cream cheese across the board. We do have some other private label, but it's for food service and it's in Ontario, but it won't matter for you guys. Thank you for having us, and thanks for listening to our story.
Thank you so much. So to wrap up with the panel from my point of view, I have one question around being in Manitoba. Why Manitoba? You might have been here, but you're still here. So what advantages do you feel you've been offered by being in the province of Manitoba for building and expanding a business compared to maybe other regions? You've hit on some of it, but we'll ask it as a wrap-up question for everybody as well.
Ladies first, I guess, lucky me. Manitoba, and I will even give a plug to the Manitoba Food Development Center. We have amazing support systems here in this province, and then expanding into Canada, amazing support systems in this country. But Manitoba Food Development Center was our very first meeting of our company ever. Actually, I got into a car accident that day and got dropped off to my meeting in a police car. So I don't know if that was a sign or not, but it was my very first meeting ever. So we have an extremely good support system and resources right here in Manitoba, but you do have to take accountability and you have to source them out and you have to take action behind it. So don't be afraid to dig for those resources. They're here, but you do have to persevere to utilize them. The other thing from Prairie Fava is we primarily actually have most of our supply contracted with Alberta acres right now. So from our business angle, we see Manitoba as a great opportunity to grow fava bean acres, which is great to be at Ag Days here.
Well, Manitoba is great strategically to be in because it's the center of Canada and it's easily accessible to the northern states, the upper Midwest of the United States. We've been on more than a few trade missions down to Wisconsin and Minnesota, Minneapolis and stuff. I mean, the current trade barriers down there are not existing right now, but that still doesn't mean that there's not tens of millions of people, consumers that want, Canadian products down there. I mean, Farmery is based in Manitoba. Lawrence has his family a couple miles from the brewery and is on the farm adding value to the crops that we grow. I mean, that was our vision from day one after actually a trade mission down to Wisconsin. I remember specifically, we were in a craft beer lounge in Madison, Wisconsin, and every firefighter in there was drinking a craft beer. And this was completely foreign to us because we owned a pub and we served the domestic brands. And we quickly understood that when the consumer makes the decision to support local, they get behind it. They get behind it with their pocketbook. So we traveled back to Manitoba to make a difference in the craft beer industry by doing that exact thing, by adding value to the crops that we grow, making something unique. We're not trying to make and make a different lager or ale, but making it the best we can and show the consumers that we can do it. In our area, we can grow hops. No one's grown hops in Manitoba before. Lawrence and I and the brothers, we started and we planted 20 acres. At the time, there was maybe another hop yard in Chilliwack, BC that had 100 acres, but I was proud to say that we had the second largest hop yard in Canada, and we grew it for ourselves. So, yeah, there's lots of things that are great to be grounded locally, and it's really about the community that wraps their support around you to help us flourish so we can reach that consumer outside our boundaries, outside our province, and that's what's exciting about even today.
I thought I was done, but I'll go fast. Why Manitoba? So we moved to Canada in 1988. My dad believed to be part of the free world. He gave up a very successful cheese company in North Africa in order for myself and my three sisters to be part of this free world. And I always say God bless Canada, and I used to consult a lot of companies in dairy sector across Canada, and I always said God bless Newfoundland and God bless Manitoba. And the reason for this is they helped us bring my wife's family to Canada. They're feeding us every single day. We're supporting locally across the board, and you guys are just here listening to our story. So why not Manitoba? God bless you guys.
Thanks, Joseph. So this is your chance. We're going to open the floor to questions from the audience. So if you have a question, I believe the mic will come to you. If you put your hand up, we'll watch for that, okay? So does anyone have a question for our esteemed panelists?
Joseph, I have a question. Is your cream cheese in the marketplace now, or is it still?
So yes, our cream cheese is in Federated Co-op right now under the Gold program, and we're slowly getting into Sobeys and Safeway, and we're also in Save-On Food with our cream cheese as well. With Save-On Foods is with our own brand, and Safeway and Sobeys with our own brand, and Federated Co-op, even though it's not our brand because it's the Gold program, but I really consider it as us, our brand, because they put our faces right on the container.
I did notice you can buy your cream cheese on Skip the Dishes in Winnipeg from Blady Market, I think. One of my colleagues was yearning for it. She'd had it and she said, I cannot find it anywhere. And I said, we will find it. And we found it. She door-dashed it. So it's awesome. Are there any questions?
I was just wondering, with your beverages, are you planning on growing into the market of maybe wine kind of products, and non-alcoholic ones?
If you are missing your daughter.
Wine is an interesting one. I don't know if we grow that much grapes here, but I mean, listen, I mean, when we brainstorm with the brothers and we spitball ideas on the wall, the wall is scattered with, you know, stuff that we think might work. Sea buckthorn, right? Saskatoons. When we moved back to the Neepawa area, the Art in Lawrence bought a strawberry farm that has Saskatoons on it, right? So when we're talking about like adding value, something unique in the marketplace, all that stuff is potential. I'm just to expand on that too, though. Our partnership with Bee Made Honey is very important to us. I didn't even at the time when I reached out to them to see about us being a supplier of honey to us. I didn't realize that they were an association of over 300 apiaries from across Canada. So it was, as soon as we explored that avenue of making an iced tea, sweetening it with honey in the alcohol channel and in the grocery channel, it was a listing with Federal Co-op that took our brand to all the co-op stores across Western Canada and to the Yukon and to Abbotsford. And that product hit store shelves and competed toe-to-toe with all the big national brands. Right? So yeah, it's all challenging, but being farmers, supporting other farmers in the co-op channel, I have to say is that Lawrence and I were featured in some of their featured marketing magazines where Lawrence buys fuel and fertilizer from the local co-op. We've always been co-op members. So for them to support co-op members, we produce something, we support farmers. It's like that cycle is very unique across Western Canada. And I would say is that even at food shows that we go to, Toronto and even BC, it's very unique to Western Canada, so I'm really proud of that.
My question would be to Joseph. Would you say, is there more room in the market in Manitoba for more cheesemakers?
So is there more room to become a cheesemaker? That's definitely. As you know, there's 1,000+ different types of cheese and dairy products across the world, and no one can. It's not no one. It's all unique when you're making it artisanal. When you have a product, you are passionate about it, people will love to try it. And there is a market for more cheesemakers and dairy products in Canada, yes.
Joseph, would Fava be shipped around the world?
Great question. Yes, you can ship feta across the world. What's really cool about feta is we put microbial enzyme and bacterial culture. And what's nice about feta is you can age it in room temperature. So that's what we do at Chaeban Artisan. So just say hypothetically you left your feta out overnight. Don't worry, as long as it's in the brine, it's gonna taste maybe a little bit more tangy, but it'll still taste really cool.
Hi, Joseph. Would you consider with your feta doing it for dessert, like the knafe dessert and the Middle Eastern dessert, to have it already with the sweet in it, to be packed for Middle Eastern desserts with the feta cheese?
I know exactly what you,
Exactly.
when you make your sweet,
Yeah.
I get the first slice.
Yes, I will, and I always do it. You're welcome.
You know, I wouldn't choose the feta cheese, to be honest, because it's more on the salty side
Yeah.
and tangy side.
That's what I'm saying, like the mjaddal, you know?
Yes,
Yeah.
so if you do mjaddal or
Yeah.
even nabilsi maybe.
Nabilsi. I am
Yeah.
from, yeah.
Yeah, you can choose those type of cheeses.
Yeah.
You just put it in cold water, let the salt come out,
Yeah.
and then make that type. You can also use bocconcini as well. That really helps with the dessert that you're trying to
Yeah.
make. Something that if you can't go to Bloody Market or a Middle Eastern store in
Yeah.
Winnipeg.
But my question is, would you consider have it like ready for knafe? To be packed in your containers and buy it and just make the knafe?
Or make the knafe itself?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, just not because I don't want to.
No.
It's because I just want to focus on dairy products.
No, the cheese that goes in the knafe to have it
Oh,
ready.
yes.
Yeah.
We can definitely start making, I would say we're 1 year out.
Yeah.
Especially with Notre Dame Creamery. We have a bigger facility that we can make more products.
Yeah.
And we can definitely do mujaddal and
Yeah.
cheeses for sweets.
Thank you.
So my bonus question for you guys is for companies in the room, for people with a dream and a business plan, and thinking they've got something great, where would you suggest they begin?
You just have to start. You can't overanalyze, analysis by paralysis. You have to start. You have to just jump in, all in, and go for it.
I would really recommend knowing the product, volunteering to 100% know the product, 1 year or even 2 years in the market, learning it. Once you know what you want to make and you're mastered it, I would try the farmers market across Manitoba because that's where we live. St. Leon's market is a really good one. They really like to support local businesses. And there's a bunch of Third and Bird. It depends really what you want to make, but that's my advice if you're doing food.
Where would you start? First of all, you have to have a brother to pitch it to. And when he says, go back and come back with something better, then you put the time in to do that. Better than that is, Lawrence and I and Eugene and Eric, the four of us, we started Luxley Restaurant in Winnipeg. And then there was the three of us, and there's always a majority. So whenever we kind of had some ideas, two outvoted the single one. That kind of kept it going. So anyway, surround yourself with like-minded and passionate people that support you no matter what, and things will come through. Passion and persistence. I agree with Hailey completely with that.
Okay, I'm going to give you one more opportunity to ask a question from the audience. And seeing none, I'll ask the panelists to say, I'm going to walk through behind you some of the services from the department and show you a couple of QR codes that you can scan to get online and see the resources and tools available if you're thinking about starting a business. So this is a picture of the Food Development Center in Portage la Prairie. If you take a scan of this QR code here, hence the panelists are sitting a mile from me because we didn't want you to be trying to scan through Joseph. This will take you to a website that we've set up with some virtual tours of the center, so you don't have to drive on a 40 below day to come out to Portage. You can take a look at the center inside by clicking there. If you have questions or you want to access resources or find out how the heck we would help you and how we work, just give us a call. We're always happy to talk to new clients. This QR code is going to take you to, I believe, our resources page in Manitoba Agriculture for food business. So if you're an aspiring food business entrepreneur, there's links to the resources and webinars and the tools and training to get you started. If you're a curious consumer and you want to know how many things are made in Manitoba, the top link on that page is to our directories. So you can get a look at our food and ingredient product directory. It doesn't tell you where to buy them. We don't keep it up to date for where things are listed, but you'll be able to find the names of companies, what they make, and then you can find their social media to find out where to access them. And as we're hearing, you're going to have to keep watching for more Chaeban products coming out and pick up the products in the marketplace if they say high protein and turn them over and check if they've got Fava in them and guess that they're probably from Canada. And Farmery will always be luring us in with the new product ideas and new flavors and things. So you can take a look at all of the diverse products that are in the market from Manitoba. On that list as well, we have a co-packer directory. So if you're a food processor in Manitoba and you have excess capacity in your facility, there are clients that want to access your line. Monday, if you're not operating Monday, they want to use it Monday. So it saves that investment for early stage companies by sharing infrastructure. So you can find that co-packer list there as well. And we also have a list of community kitchens. Sorry. So if you're thinking about starting a food business or you've been working in your home and you need access to a permitted facility, one of the first steps an entrepreneur might make is to a community kitchen. It's low cost, you're making low investment to try and test market your idea. Get that voice of customer at a farmer's market like has been recommended, and find out if you've got something that's ready to go to market. Thank you so much for attending today. I want to share a warm thank you to the panelists for sharing their stories and telling us the insights into how they've gone from a dream to a reality. We do have time for one more question from the audience. We will just allow that if there happens to be a question. And if not, we will wrap for the day. So thank you so much. And you can see the contact information for our brand on the screen. So please get in touch if you have any questions or require any support or information on how you might get started or expand your food business journey. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. That was a great panel.